Hey everybody, this is Dane with Everything Board Games. Today we're going to be taking a look at Blue Lagoon. This is from Blue Orange Games, designer Rainier Knizia and artist Tomek Lerick. This game plays 2 to 4 players, ages 8 and up, and it takes 30 to 45 minutes, although we've found that it takes a little bit shorter than that. Let's go ahead and open up the box and see what's inside. All right, here's what we have inside the box.
So we have the board, here's some scorecards, and here's the resource bag, the player huts, resource tokens, and player tokens.
All right, here we have a setup for a 2-player game. The whole object of the game is to score points over 2 separate phases. The first is like a morning phase, or just phase 1, and the second is phase 2. The way you score, there's a kind of a combination of different things. Here you can see that the score pad is broken into the 2 phases. The first thing is the way you can score is that you are able to have your villagers on 7 of the islands, you'll get 10 points. 8 of the islands, you'll get 20 points. Next is you are going to get 5 points for every island that you link together, and we'll show that here in a second. The next score object here is that you are going to get points for islands that you can control. So for example, you see down here, this island right here is worth 10 points. So if you have the majority of your tokens on this island, you will get 10 points for that island. Next is a set collecting score. You're going to get 2 points for every 2 resources, or 5 points for every 2 resources, 10 points for every 3, and 20 points for every 4. And then if you have all 4 resources, you're going to get 10 points for each set of those that you have. And then finally, you're going to get 4 points for each idol that you have. And once that's done, we'll go ahead and kind of show you how to play here. And once you're done with this, the first phase, you're going to actually do it again a little bit differently, but the scoring is going to be the same objectives. So why don't you go ahead and tell us what you're going to do on your turn? It's pretty easy, right?
So you just find a place to play out your boat.
Now, when you first start the game, you have to play in water space, correct?
Right.
Okay. So you're just going to play your boat person. Now, these tokens are 2-sided. One shows their land version and one shows their boat version. So I would go ahead and do the same. I'm going to go ahead and put mine right here. So now it's your turn again. What would you do?
Now I can put out my land person.
Okay.
And grab this resource.
Okay, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take that spot and take this idol. And then it's your turn.
Okay. Now I am going to go over here.
All right. And I'm going to be mean, and I'm going to come in right here as well. Now, one of the rules when you're placing these down is what? You always have to be
adjacent to your
previously played.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay. So now I just played that. What's your next move going to be?
My next move, I'm going to place a hut here.
Okay. Now what's that hut going to do for you? It's just like a villager, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's just like a villager, but at the end of this round, we are going to take off all of our villagers and leave all of our huts. And then when we start the second round, we are able to build next to any of our huts that are already out there. So he's gone ahead and put down a hut. I'm going to continue with my guys. I'm going to take this resource that he was headed for.
Now I'm going to play down another of my guys right here.
Yeah, I'm going to make him mad again because I'm going to take my next villager and take that idol.
I'm going to move
okay.
Here.
Now you can kind of see what he's doing here. He's blocking me off from the rest of the island because I will not be able to build adjacent to this guy because he's in the way unless I come back to the water. Same thing here unless I come to the water. And right now the only other place I can go on this island is here. So he's definitely shooting for these 10 points. Whereas I was trying to gobble up resources, he was going for the 10 points. So I'm going to go ahead and come back over to this island and continue building there.
Okay, now I'm going to put my ocean guy right there.
Okay, so you're going to go in the water so that you can jump to another island. I'm going to go ahead and collect this next idol.
Now I'm going to go to the land right
Okay.
over here.
You're going to collect that. Now, one thing I should have mentioned was right at the very beginning of the game, we put all of the resources in this bag and then drew them out randomly to place around the board. We're going to go ahead and fast forward now to the end of the round to show you what it looks like and talk about scoring. All right, so we're done with the first round, and here's how the scoring is going to go. So again, if we look at our score sheet, the first thing we're going to do is anybody who got 7 islands linked is going to get 10, and 8 islands is going to get 20. So what that means is you can see I'm on one island, and it links to a second, to a third, fourth, fifth, 6, and 7. So I'm going to go ahead and score 10 points, whereas my opponent did not. Haha. Now, oh, I'm sorry, that means that we are on 7 islands and not linked. The next one is linked. Okay, so looking here, we get 5 points for each island that is actually linked together with others. And we already showed that I have 7 of them linked, so I'm going to get 35 points for that. My opponent is linked with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so he'll get 25 points. Next, we look at who's got the majority. So I've got the majority on this island. I get 6 points, this island 10, this island 8, and this island 8, whereas my opponent, oh, and this island up here 8. My opponent has 6, 10, and 6. And now we're going to go ahead and look for combinations of goods. I have 4 of a kind right here, so that's going to give me 20 points. Then I've got 2, which is going to give me 5. 2 more, which is going to give me another 5. And then I have 1 grass that's not going to give me anything, but I also have 1 complete set as well, so that will give me 10 more points. And then I'm going to get 4 for each of these idols that I've got right here, so that is 24 points there. And then my opponent has a grouping of 4, so that's 20, a grouping of 3, which is 10, and then 1 and 1 of the other 2, but those won't count for any points. But then he does have a grass, I'm not sure if I'm naming these resources right, but a grass, a wheat, a bluish thing, and a white thing. So he's got 1 complete set, so he'll also get the 10, and then he's got 2 idols, which gives him 8 points there. So now at the end of the first round, like I mentioned before, we are going to take off the rest of the resources off of the board, and we are going to take off all of our people but leave our huts. Any huts that have not been played to this point will be removed from the game. So we're gonna really show this here. Hopefully I fast forward or something so you don't have to actually watch me take everything off. Okay, resources go back in the bag, get shuffled up, and then reseeded all over the board. Now, at the beginning of the next phase, players will be able to build anywhere. We don't have to build in the water this time. We can build anywhere next to our existing huts. And the game proceeds exactly the same. Each turn, somebody's putting out a person, either as a villager or as a fisherman, and they're putting those on the board one at a time. And then when players run out of their tokens, then the last scoring phase begins. You total both scoring phases, and whoever has the most points wins the game. Let's go ahead and talk about what we thought about the game. Okay, what did you think of this game?
I like how it is very fast, and that if you don't want to think very hard about it, you don't have to. But it's also very strategic. You can cut the other opponent off from all of the board, similar like in Cathedral. It's also kind of like the game Battle Sheet by Blue Orange Games, where how it's area control.
Yeah, so we've got some elements of area control going on, set collecting. It does remind me a lot of Battle Sheep as well. It also reminds me of a few other Blue Orange titles. As far as the gameplay itself, the mechanisms are very simple, yet there can be a lot of strategy. I think Battle Sheep can be a very strategic game, very fun. This game too can be very strategic, going blocking people off like you mentioned, or whether you're going for big set collectors or you're trying to tie all the islands together. There's a lot of different ways to score points, and so you can really mix up your strategy depending on how you want to go. I love the components. The artwork's great. It reminds me of the movie Moana. If you look at the box cover here, very much looks like Moana. In fact, when we first got it, I think the boys both asked me if that was Moana. But it's another really awesome, solid title from Blue Orange Games. We find that we really like most of the Blue Orange titles that we get. This one is no exception. Again, this is Blue Lagoon from Blue Orange Games, and it is great. You definitely need to check this one out if you haven't been able to. All right, we'll catch you next time.